this is the geek protagonist, and I got to see A Quiet Place 2, and I just felt weird that if I'm going to review the sequel, maybe I should do the first film. So, this is going to be a review of that movie, of the first movie. A little tiny bit of spoilers, but it's not going to be something, I'm going to go over the top. I'm actually trying to work on getting my reviews, unless it's something needs to be very integrated, a little bit shorter. So this one's not going to be long, maybe 10 minutes most. So, Quiet Place Part 1. First, I want to establish this is more of a thriller over a horror movie. So they're living their lives. You're actually seeing what's going on, but it's a very intense situation for a family and what that family is going through. But it's not and there's always a danger lurking, in the background. But it's not something where it's hey, monster every corner. It's just basically these monsters, wherever they're at, they hear a noise, and boom, they just appear and they're coming. You always know that they're somewhere nearby. A lot of times they may just be sitting, they may just be listening, they may just be doing something, but they're not doing anything beyond that. This was written by John Krasinski. I think it was him and a few other people. He also was the director. Another person who's known for comedy has switched over. Amazing job. It's excellent. It was excellently shot, excellently done. Emily Blunt's performance was superb. There's a scene in there, like I said, this is going to have some light spoilers. So, there's a scene where she steps on a nail, and I don't know if you've ever stepped on a nail or something. I have. And that is not something that feels good. And she had to, like that, and had to hold it in, and it was oof. And there is another thing that happens in the movie where it's oh, how is she not screaming? How is he not screaming? How are they not screaming? There is some stuff where it's wow, this is very difficult. And all the kids killed it in the movie as well. There was Millicent Simmons. Think she's awesome. I would love to see her definitely do some more stuff. I think she's really doing it. There is a Noah, I think his name is Jupe. That kid was great. How they played that off. Cade Woodward nailed it. See, here's the thing about kids. Kids can kill a movie or they can help elevate a movie. And in this, these kids helped elevate it because the story was so interwoven that in the end, it's about family. And how is this family doing what they do? How did they, to survive? And that's cool. You also get to see a little bit of how this works and everything like that. And when you think about it, how many things we do to make noise. When we want to give someone adulation. If you're into poetry. If you want to do something, or if you want to say laugh, these things in this world can get you ended. And that's wild, where they could just... So, they have a different form of communication. You see body language. They use... Now, once again, this is a little bit of spoiler territory. They use sign language. But there's a reason why they use sign language, which you'll find out why. Basically, the one daughter is deaf, so they learn sign language. And through that, they were able to build some form of communication, even in tense moments where it was see how that's different from? See how you got a different feeling? Those little nuggets. And you can kind of glean some of the story through some of the newspaper clippings and stuff, where you kind of get to see what's going on, where it's at, and they kind of show you a little bit of a tiny bit through that. You can see, okay, this is what's going on. Also, what I thought was very cool when I was in the theater, and my old supervisor, he said the same thing when he saw it, that this happened in the theater. Everybody was quiet. It's once the movie started, it drew you in, where you're I can't make noise. If I make a noise, that's gonna monsters might come. Like, and it wasn't that you did it. It was like a subconscious thing. It wasn't like you were like, okay, I'm in the world now. It was a subconscious thing of, we have to make noise. Like, you saw people when they were like with their popcorn, it was like that, or your drink, you couldn't go, you know what I mean? That was really cool because I don't get those kind of experiences all the time. One of the amazing experiences you can have in a movie theater. And it was really cool to experience how nobody wanted to talk. Normally you'll hear a person say something, someone's phone, like they like hit the flash, and it was just something that transported you in there. And that's what a good movie can do. And this movie did that. And this movie also exemplifies how much noise people make in our day-to-day lives. The stuff, how we walk, how we talk, how we drive, how we honk a horn, how we greet each other, how we say bye to each other, how we communicate with groceries, how we listen to music. All these different things actually play a huge factor into our lives. And now you have to be silent, because that, if you're not, those same things can get you. And I thought that was really cool, like cool how they did that. The other funny thing is, think about that kind of stuff. Think about your anger, your sadness, your joy, your love. Like, if you're angry, you yell out like, ah. If you're crying, it says, yeah, you know, like, and ha ha ha, like all these different things you now have to hold in as a human. You can't release these emotions. You can't release this feeling. If you feel a certain way, you have to be very quiet about it. If you feel pain, you can't just yell out or be like, oh, like, you have to be like, and you have to like suck it in, because if you don't, something might take you down. That's an intense situation. And I give them a lot of credit, because that, before there was Bird Box with The Thing or The Silence, which I heard was a thing, which I'll maybe review those later if I haven't already. This particular movie kicked off that sensory quiet, like that sensory depth kind of thing. And I think it was really, really interesting how they handled it. And I also like the fact that when John would do the thing, like on the girl, everything, all the ambient noise would go out. But then when he would like focus on a boy or something, the ambient noise would come back to get you to feel and see how much we actually use our ears, even when we don't think we are. Where that ambient noise comes from. Like, watch. Now you hear the water thing. Sometimes when if you close your eyes and just wait a couple seconds, you'll start noticing all your other senses perk up. And that was really, really cool. Great concept for that. Now, there are some cliche moments in the movie, but in my personal opinion, I don't care about cliche as long as you make it work. So, and if I feel like they made it work, and I just think that's fine. And sometimes for some people, they said the movie dragged a little in certain parts. I didn't get that feeling, because when when I have it, I'm like, we're dealing with a situation where you have to be extremely quiet. You have to deal with an extreme situation. To me, that doesn't feel draggy, because I'm like, we're literally watching them kind of go through their day to day and stuff. And sometimes your day to day gets like that. But I guess I understand the sentiment, but I just didn't get that feeling from it. And lastly, this is what I think about too. So this shows a great story with a really good premise can overlook a flaw. So here's something funny that I noticed when I watched the film the first time. I noticed that, all right, there is a spectrum of animals, of things, of the periodic table, stuff like that you've seen. I was like, okay, just because something can survive in space or survive re-entry, we have high caliber weapons. We have nuclear weapons. We have heavy bombs. And if these things are sound sensory or something, you're going to tell me that a 50 caliber that's shooting like 100 bullets at a time is not going to be able to pierce their bodies. Now, however, the story is so good, so well done, it doesn't always matter. You don't always have to do logic. It's something that came in my head when I was watching. I was like, actually, we have high caliber weapons. We have lasers. I mean, we do. Not like readily available, but I'm like, there are things that we have, and you're gonna tell me that this thing can't be stopped by any of that stuff? Especially if we go by even the hardest of carapaces. I'm like, nah. But then you start to think. And see, I have a lot of times where that logic goes, but see, here's what the cool part about me is. If your story is really good, I can take that and throw it out and go, okay, well, maybe they don't have that, or maybe they didn't have access, or maybe this happened. I can kind of rationalize that off. Maybe the military got hit really fast and never got the chance to. Or the world wasn't fully accepting it, because the fact that there were still newspapers going around talking about this situation tells me it may have hit very specific places and didn't hit everything right away. So yeah, same thing. It seemed like the monsters didn't eat; they just killed. But then it like raised the question: then why do they have sharp teeth if they don't need to consume? So there's those things there. But here's what's cool about it: you don't have to worry about that, because maybe they do eat something, you don't know, but they pretty much don't. But maybe they've evolved to just, we end life, we murder things, we destroy things, and that's what we are here for. So there's a lot of things there, and through that, it works. The movie monster's great. It's next to unkillable. Like, you can't just take a shotgun and go, okay, or, as they call it, a force gun, and boom! You can't just do that. So now it's how do you deal with this situation? And that's really, 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 really awesome. I like how they handled the end result, and I thought the ending was a really good place to say, hey, this is what's happening now. And it's like, boom, and it just stops. I actually like that. Now, I got very worried, because I was like, you guys kind of nailed it with this movie. Now you're going to make a sequel, is that going to go? Now that there is a sequel, I'm going to talk about it in the next video. So, my rating for this is, I definitely will call this a should buy. I would say a person needs to at least watch it once. It's an excellently well put together movie. The monster is cool. The whole setup is nice. And like I said, even beyond that logic, take that and throw it out. Because even with my logic there of how animals work and stuff, it didn't matter, because I was like, movie monster, cool thing. This works. This world is this way. And that's how you have to approach these things. This world works this way. Like I said, I think it's a should buy. I think you should check it out. Geek Protagonist. I'm going to see you in the next one. You stay safe, you stay healthy, you stay real.